Hi, my name is Ryan, and today I'm going to be comparing my Red Wing 8085 Iron Rangers to the Luosjiet Tan Waxy Refresh Indiana Jones boots. And I know what you're thinking. Why in the world would I compare what is essentially a clone of the Alden Indies against the Iron Rangers? To be honest, I sold my Alden Indies. I sold them way quicker than I thought I was. It shows me I probably had them listed for too low. But all kidding aside, I really think these boots are very comparable, and looking at both of these boats really helps us to see what type of value you're getting with the Luosjiet Indiana Jones boots. So I hope you enjoy the video. There's two main reasons why I'm comparing the Luosjiet to the Red Wings. That's because of the shape of the shoe. It's actually closer to the Iron Rangers, in my opinion, than the actual Alden Indies. It's a lot roomier, it's a little bit more bulbous, and it feels a lot more like the Iron Rangers. The other reason why I'm doing this is because a lot more people have a Red Wing Iron Ranger boot, or they have a set of boots. And this will help them to see how it compares to the Luosjiet, and if the Luosjiet is really a good bargain, or if it's the price it should be, or if it's overpriced.
So now we're going to go over the different aspects of the boot. And the first thing you're going to notice is one of those major similarities is that they both don't have a midsole, right? So you both have just a welt that's attached to the outsole. So they're very similar in that way. And this makes the boot a little bit easier to break in when it comes to the sole, at least. The leather uppers are tough to break in, but at least the sole will be flexible with both of these boots. And the shape of the toe is, of course, a little bit more clown-like with the Red Wing, but that's what it's famous for. And you have the cap toe with the mock stitching of the Luosjiet. It's a little sleeker, but it's not as sleek as an indie boot or a dress style boot. It has a little bit more room, and I like that about it. Of course, with the Iron Ranger, it has a heel that is just a one-piece heel that's glue on and sanded. You can see it's pretty roughly sanded here. It gets the job done. The Red Wing is not a dress boot, it's a casual work-inspired boot, so this looks fine. But the Luosjiet is a lot more refined. The welt is in better shape, the stitches are a lot nicer, and overall the leather seems to be a little bit more processed, a little bit nicer. And it also has that one-piece heel, but again, it's sanded down and finished a little bit more cleanly. It's got a black Thomas heel on it with the brown rubber-like outsole, so it gives it a nice contrast. So this is pretty similar. I mean, not a lot of boots are like this straight from the factory. A lot of people love having a midsole. Some people don't mind. I really don't mind. I don't see what the difference is. Most of my Allen Edmonds shoes don't have a midsole, and they've lasted years. Looking from above, you can really start to see the similarities. To your eye, which boot looks wider? Because this is shocking to me. The Luosjiet has more of an almond toe, while the Iron Ranger has more of a duckbill aesthetic. But you would think the Iron Ranger would be wider, but the Luosjiet actually has more room and is wider. Here, of course, is a look from the rear. The Red Wing is a lot taller and a little narrower. They're both fairly high quality. Here we see the first big upgrade with the Luosjiet Indie boot, and that's the heel rand. It's a thick slab of leather, while I believe the Red Wing is a leather board, which again is not a big deal to a lot of guys, but this is a bump in quality. It's just a little bit nicer, so I thought I would point it out. Looking inside the boot, of course, the Red Wing Iron Ranger isn't lined, but I can't take away points for that. People love that about the boot, and it's really not a negative, but it has a thick veg tan insole, and that is key to having a long-lasting boot. For most boot guys, it's not that big of a deal, but really Nice to have, and the Luosjiet has it. I mean, I would say it's the same exact insole, so that is a great aspect of Luosjiet boot that competes directly with the Red Wing Iron Rangers. Now we're going to look at the leather quality. It's really hard to determine what a better quality leather is. This is a pull-up leather. It's a very thick leather. I really like the leather. If I get little scratches, I can keep them on there, or I can just buff them out with the horsehair brush. With the Red Wing leather, the one thing I will say about it, when you first get your boot, it looks awesome. It's light, it's patinaing, it just looks so great. But as you wear the boot in, if you try to condition it, it's just going to darken. Really, I've seen the copper rough and tough like this one look just like the amber harness down the road. It's just going to look very similar. And that's okay. I mean, if you want to baby your boots, you can keep this copper tone looking really good. But it's just one thing I've noticed with this more of a rough aesthetic leather. If you try to condition it or patinaing it, will just make it darker. And that's just one thing to note. Here's just another shot in the sunlight. This is really just showing off how nice the boots are. And notice that the Luosjiet, even though I took the same size recommendation that they recommended for these Iron Rangers, it's a little bit longer of a boot. But here is a shocking aspect of it. Look how much wider it is. It's unbelievable. You really don't notice it until you do this. Now, a big reason is the size of the welt. The Luosjiet has a much meatier welt. There's a lot left on it. You can probably get this resold several times with this same welt. So it does stick out a lot wider, but the actual boot, the actual vamp and toe area of the boot is wider than the Iron Rangers, and this shocked me. You think about that duckbill shape being so wide, but in this case the Luosjiet is actually a little bit wider. The soles, I'm guessing you would vote the Red Wing is better. Vibram is a brand name that we know how it wears, and this is some Chinese knockoff, I hate to say, but it's wearing great, but we just don't know how long it will last. Stitches look better, but the Red Wing has the brand name sole. Now I think while looking at some photos, we can talk about the price comparison. Recently, I was watching a podcast on YouTube, and they said when comparing the price of Alden Indies, they said when Grant Stone came out, that made the price that they pay for Alden go down. And it's right. When we look at it compared to another boot, we're able to see a more accurate price. So I'm going to do these price comparisons with a couple of different boots for the Luosjiet. But looking at strictly the Red Wing, this is what I think it's worth. When you have the sole construction, the insole being very similar, with the leather probably being, let's just say the leather is similar, and then the Luosjiet where the main upgrade is in that heel rand, of course, and in the way it's stitched. The boot is just way more refined. The stitching is super accurate. And I know. It's from China, right? You'd expect this, or maybe you wouldn't expect this. And the Red Wing is from America, and it's handmade, and the artisans, aren't always perfect. And I totally understand that. I love American-made shoes. But for value, if you were to just hand these two boots to someone that had no idea what they were looking at, they would think the Luosjiet was a nicer, more well-built boot than the Iron Rangers. So I do have to bump it up there. Then, of course, you have where it's made, and you have to take that into consideration. For me, I don't care really where a boot is made, but I do put more value in a boot that is made in the US. This is because the way my work is, I depend on the US and the US economy. So it's more valuable for me to buy from the US. It doesn't mean I'm not going to buy from China. It's just I put value to it. So when I really look at the boots, these two, and I compare them,
I see a boot that's a little bit better than the Iron Ranger. The Luosjiet is a little bit better than the Iron Ranger, but the Iron Ranger is made in the US. So what do I think the Luosjiet boot is worth? Right about the same price as the Iron Ranger. Looking at these two side by side, I would think the Luosjiet would be a $350 boot and the Iron Ranger would be a $350 boot. I know the Luosjiet's made in China, Iron Ranger's made in the USA, but that is what I think. And that is great value, really, when you think about a boot. I mean, I'm not saying it's better than the Alden Indy, it's better than these boots, but the value really is there. So a $350 boot for around $250 when it's all said and done, that is well worth the money. And as these wear in, if I see anything that's glaring, some major flaw, I will mention it because then it won't be worth it. But as it sits now, 3 weeks into wearing the boot, it is absolutely worth the money and more. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions about these boots, please leave them in the comments and I'll try to get to you. And again, have a great one. Thanks for watching.